So a little girl goes to her mom and asks her, where did she come from and where do humans come from? And her mother said, honey, they come from Adam and Eve. They're our relatives. She said, okay. And then she goes and she asks her dad, Dad, where did we come from? And her dad said, well, we come from monkeys. Okay. So she goes back to her mom and says, I don't know. I asked you, and you said Adam and Eve, and I asked Dad, and he said monkeys. Which one is it? And she said, well, honey, I'm talking about my side of the family. And he's talking about his, right? We're talking about intentional family today. We're talking about the call of what it means to be intentional, to find the family who sees you. We're talking about that essence. So many people spend their lives focusing on where one another is coming from rather than where we come from. Right? When we know where we come from, that we worship, we honor, we praise our Creator, and the way that we do that is not something glorified that we can't see or witness or experience. It's something that we allow to permeate and integrate through the very nature of our being. I celebrate God by celebrating myself, my life, my awareness, my connection, and my deepening to spirit by proving the principles with everyday situations that come into our lives. Are you with me? Yes. And so when you're in that place of intentional family, you understand, you spend the energy on where we come from rather than where we are coming from psychologically and emotionally and in our own woundology. Some people will spend 30 and 40 and 50 years arguing about who's in the right religion, who's practicing the right kind of things, who's doing this, who's doing that. And it's just, I find it sad. Because there's so much life that is being called, so much life. So what type of family do you want? Family is a bigger word. It's not just where you were born and raised. It's not just the family you were born into, but also a family that through the years of your life you continue to choose. So you will continue to be born many times over into something greater or moments that you don't know about yourself yet. There's a story about a little girl that her mother is getting on to her. She's 3 years old. And she said, I want you to clean your room. I'm your mother. Go clean your room. And the little girl goes, you're not my mother. And the woman's thinking, I was in the labor room. I went through a lot of stuff and toting you and everything. How could you dare say I'm not your mother? And she said, well, God's my mother. You're the babysitter. Her mother didn't know what to say. Obviously a unity person, and she didn't know what to say. And so she said, well, the babysitter wants you to go and clean your room. And so that whole situation is true with Jesus in Matthew, that the disciples said, isn't that your brother and your sister and isn't that everybody, all your family over there? He said, yeah, but what does that have to do with me? So it's both and, you see. We have a family that we love, that we feel that connection with, that we learn to be okay with and accept and experience. But we also have the space of knowing that we have a much broader, greater mission in family and in our consciousness. When we say namaste, we're not just saying that to sound international. We're saying it with an intention. It says literally, the God within me meets and recognizes the God within you. That's a full cup that we start off with. Because I'm messing with the God stuff when I'm messing with you. And vice versa back to me. Because we start with this place of, let us focus on where we come from. Let us focus on that. Let us focus on what we have in common. You see, Wayne Dyer says it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And it isn't. You can clap. It isn't too late. It isn't too late to have a wonderful family system, an extended family. You know, it's like, and I feel that way about so many of you. You're my extended family. I can't imagine my life without you in it. You know, and it's not just people that go around and say they like you. It's people that you know will live in truth with you. There's a big difference. People who live in truth with you, and people who will speak the truth to you. We're becoming a dysfunctional system in family because we think that family isn't supposed to tell the truth of what we really think of one another so we could support each other to grow. That's the beauty of family, is that somebody can call you on your stuff. So if you've been called today, give thanks. Right? In 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, it is teaching us about the values of love. And it's one of those readings that it never ages. It's always to the point. And it says that love is patient. Love is patient. And love is kind. It's kind. It's about that space. But then it goes on to say it does not demand its own way. It does not demand its own way. And that's when people cross a line of wanting to one-up each other of where they're coming from versus where they come from. Does that make sense? Because then it's like my way. No, do it my way. No, do it your way. No, it's only my way. And in truth, there's often a third way or a fourth way or a new way or something that we haven't ever thought of, right? When we go from the need to be right to being kind, there's a much greater reality there. There's a story about Mary Sue that she's going into labor. And she calls her husband, Bubba, and she says, Bubba, call 911. And so Bubba calls 911, and the operator says, okay, your wife, she's ready to go. We'll send somebody right out to get you. You know, tell us where you live. And he said, Eucalyptus Street. And she said, well, tell me how to spell that. And Bubba said, I'll just take her down to Oak Street, and you can meet me there. You see, in love, we are willing to go that next level, and we're willing to go that next layer. But there's a big difference when it comes to love between judgment and discernment. When you're judging, if you wonder what that is, in my humble opinion, judgment to me is when you start trying to figure out somebody else's story. Right? That's judgment. When you discern is that you look at the things around you and the people around you and you make choices. You don't need a story because you have your own story. So when they don't align with that consciousness of your own story, you're discerning, you're not judging. Right? We make choices because of the experience that we have. We are intentional about birds of a feather flock together. We are intentional about that particular space and about that life force. I liken it to the great pearl, the pearl of great price. And when you think about how a pearl is made beautiful, it's made because there's debris within the oyster that it's working very hard to get rid of. It's working very hard to get rid of it, isn't it? But out of that comes beauty. And out of that becomes something very magical. Are you with me? Yes. Are we with each other? There's some other kind of energy. Are y'all seeing angels or something going on? Is there something I'm not seeing and that's like really scary?
It's your magical.
It's what?
Your magical.
Now that's just let's talk after. I'll give you your $20 as soon as we're finished. I know. Oh, God. Okay. Back to the subject. I know that when Wanda was singing, you were feeling that, God, I love you. Yes. And I know that some of you are sitting here right now You haven't been treating yourself so nice this week. You are magical and magnificent. And when we say that we love how we are created, that love of self is first and the foremost. Love thy neighbor as thyself. See, namaste, I see it in you when I know that it is within me. You know? And I can see it. Otherwise, I'm just doing lip service. Namaste. 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 No, just lip service. But when I really feel that energy, I feel that in the containment of that is the whole world joining together in that space and in that oneness, because I have that integration within me. We teach people how to treat us. Most of the world does not know that they are psychic by nature. Right? And so when you're in conversations about other people, you always want to say, with which I have allowed. This has been going on in our relationship because I have allowed it. This has been occurring in my life because I have allowed it. This is what is taken place because I have allowed it. And so I change my allowance when I understand the depth of the love for myself. Right? And when I change that for myself, then I bring it in, and then it changes with everything and everyone around me. You know, we often need to leave certain family that we feel do not see us, and we go away to be seen. It's all about being seen within yourself. But once you see yourself and you know where you come from, it doesn't matter if other people don't see you. Because you're living in that place of grace. Because your life becomes not about other people, but about experiences of what you're here to express. Do you understand the difference? Yeah. It's not about other people. It's about embracing the larger mission of your life. And when you do that, then you understand what Jesus said. Well, what does that have to do with me? He wasn't saying I don't love them. He wasn't saying I'm not grateful. He just said, you know, I'm focusing on a much bigger picture. I'm not going to spend my whole life, you know, wanting that one person over there to love me. You know, while 4 people are waiting in line that actually do. Right? There's a writing in Biography magazine by Harriet Lerner. And she said, it's very interesting. You can even take rats in a maze, and if they run into the wall 3 times, they are willing to change their behavior. But a human being will spend their whole lifetime trying to change another person. What is that? You understand? Serenity prayer, the new one. God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that would be me. A lot to think about, of value, of importance, when you let go of the need to be loved. You can't get to all of it fast enough. I'll close with the story about an anthropologist that was in Africa studying the rituals, how they connect as an intentional family. And every day he would play with the kids, and he would see the kids out, and he said, I'm going to come up with this game. So he goes to the town next door and he gets a bunch of candy, and he puts it in front of a tree, like quite a distance from where they would actively play every day. And he says to them, this is how it goes. This is the game. I'm going to say now, and as soon as I do, I want all of you to start running. And I want you to run to the tree. And the first one that gets the candy, yes. So they all line up, and he shouts, now. And all of them grabbed hands. And they ran together. And they leaned over to the candy. And he said, "What is that?" And they said, "Ubuntu. I am more because of who we all are. I am more. We are more together. We are more as we hold hands. Thank you for holding hands with me in this community. And thank you for holding hands with the consciousness of understanding that every action you take affects that butterfly wing in Australia. It affects the birds on our campus that sing every time you're going in and out of your car. It affects our children. Our children that are born now are not the children that when we were born. They are coming in from a different knowing. That's what evolution is, by the way. I mean, it's happening with every species. But I'm just wanting to call attention to it. Which means that we cannot use the same skill set. And hopefully we'll throw the whole thing away. But it's about holding the dance. I am because of who we all are. That's it. Bless you. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.